Let us now discuss about the definition of the contract. According to the section 2H, which is specified under the Indian Contract Act 1872, a contract is nothing but an agreement enforceable by law. So, section 2H defines contract means an agreement enforceable by law. So we will try to understand the different meanings, the different words that are specified in this definition. So the number one, contract means agreement enforceable by law. So contract equal to agreement plus enforceability by law. So what is agreement? Agreement means promise or set of promises forming consideration to each other. So Act is defining the agreement as promises or set of promises that are forming consideration to each other. So we will discuss what is consideration in the future chapters. So this is the basic definition of the agreement. So then coming to the point called enforceable by law. What is enforceable by law? Enforceable means it should be enforced in the court of law. It should be enforced in the court of law. So there is one more definition for promise. Look into the definition of the promise. According to the section B, promise means a person to whom the proposal is made. Signifies his assent thereto, becomes acceptance. So this is part number one. So promise means when a person to whom the proposal is made, for example, there is a person called A who wanted to sell his car to B. So he is just offering to sell his car to B. So he just started a conversation and informed B that he is willing to sell the car which is there with him for 2 lakhs. Then A has made a proposal to B. So here the person to whom the proposal is made. In our example, B is called the person to whom the proposal is made. So B is receiving the proposal. So so this is the first part. B is receiving the proposal. Okay. So the next one signifies his assent thereto becomes acceptance. So B has already received an offer and B is currently just thought about the price and the condition of the car and he wanted to purchase that car. So he just signified his acceptance or assent, his willingness to buy the car to A. So signifies his assent thereto. So he signifies his assent. Whenever he signifies his assent, it becomes an acceptance. So now the offer is accepted by B. So now here comes the definition of the promise. So a proposal when accepted becomes promise. So that means proposal plus acceptance equal to promise. Promise plus consideration equal to agreement. Agreement plus enforceability equals to contract. So this is the definition or basic understanding of the contract. I hope this is helpful. So now we can discuss more about the term called enforceability. So the law of contract deals only with the contracts which are having a legal obligation. So not all the contracts are questionable or can be questioned with the court of law. So for example, in the related video, I've given a scenario too, where my brother promised me to pay the amount for the new year party, and if he fails to pay me the amount, I cannot go to the court and ask him for the compensation, because it is just a social agreement between me and my brother. So the law of contract generally not deals with the contract called social or status obligations. In the related video, I've given you a scenario where I've asked my brother to pay me some amount on the event of New Year party. If he fails to pay me the amount, can I just go to the court of the law and file a suit against him for the compensation? Do you think it is allowed? But this is not allowed in terms of the Indian Contract Act, because the law of contract only deals with the contracts which are having a legal obligation, or which are formed for the purpose of legal obligations, not for the social or personal obligations. So the status obligations are not covered in the Indian Contract Act. So this is the major difference between the agreement and contract, right? So we'll be just covering the differences in the other slide. Let us now discuss the differences between the contract and the agreement. So as we all know, contract is nothing but an agreement which is enforceable by law. So the agreement is nothing but a promise which is having a consideration for each other. Okay, so this is a narrow term, and the scope is limited. This is a wider term, covers all agreements. So if you see in the agreement definition, we have the general agreements also. For example, I've shared you the scenario called I'm asking my brother to pay me 10,000 rupees for the New Year party. So that will be coming under the agreement, but it will not be treated as a contract since it is lacking a legal obligation. So the agreement is a wider term and the contract is a narrow term, and the scope is very limited. So specific rights to the parties. This may not always have right to the parties. So the agreement and the contract. So the contract is having a legal obligation. So that is the reason it will always give some specific rights to the parties. So earlier we have discussed an example. For example, A wanted to sell his car to B for 2 lakhs. So in that specific case, B has given his acceptance. So and they both have entered into an agreement, and there is a legal obligation. That means they wanted to create a legal relationship between them. So here A is having a right to receive the amount of 2 lakhs, and B is having a right to receive the car. So here both the parties are having a right. So while coming to the agreement, so I've asked my brother to pay me 10,000 rupees, but here I'm only receiving that 10,000, but my brother is not having anything in return. So it may not be always having the rights to the parties to the contract in agreements, but in the contract each party will have the specific rights. All contracts equal to agreements, but all agreements are not equal to contracts. So this is the final conclusion one should remember. So every contract is an agreement, but all the agreements are not contracts. It's helpful. Thank you.